welcome to Social Work Sunday Tea. I am Shakia Houston. It's a great day to be alive and well. It's July 23rd, 2023. Listen, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We're going to dive in and we have a special guest today. I'm so excited. If you would like to introduce yourself, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Edison JAQUEZ. I am an author, motivational speaker, community activist, mental health advocate. It's a
Yeah.
lot of different titles. But I'm just glad to be here. It's going to be an amazing time with Shakia and her audience. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been amazing just connecting with you on,
Yeah.
through social media. Social
Yeah.
media is so powerful. We kind of like see each other like, oh, you gotta
Yeah.
okay, let's
Yeah.
check it out. Yeah, so that it's an honor for you to be on my show. So what made you to, what made you get into mental health and that arena, being an advocate, things like that, because you have a lot, just reading your bio, you got a lot going on, good stuff. So that's all good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I always, wanted to be some type of role model in the community. In regards to mental health, the stigma around it has opened my eye up a lot. Growing up, you hear friends and family going through stuff, anxiety,
Yeah.
depression, and you ask yourself, what is that? You're not. The stigma is so strong that you're not that educated on it, and you're like, what is that? What you mean you're depressed? What you mean you're sad?
Yeah.
Emotions, like, so I wanted always to like kind of dig deeper.
Yeah.
um and my wife had a major impact in that, because she also kind of went through uh some stuff and then was able to kind of educate me as well, and be able to kind of be open to understanding the importance of mental health, mental wellness, and just taking care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. When the pandemic happened, really, just well, it was back in 2014, but for me, because I was working as a social worker for a psych facility,
Mhm.
and I didn't really know the magnitude, because I say this all the time growing up, you always talking about, like these, oh, don't talk to them, they crazy,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm just like,
yeah,
um and I'm just like, okay. But when I got to know and interact with but I interact with them and I see them and I talk, and I was just like, we're not too far apart,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
that we go through. Yours may be, more traumatic than mine, but
yeah,
it was a big transition, like when it came down to that. So no, like stop, and that's why I started Social Work Sunday Tea, the podcast, because like it is a big stigma.
yeah, yeah,
Now we're talking about mental health. Now we're talking about
mm-hmm,
counseling and therapy and things like that. Now we're talking about it, but back then, a lot of people suffered in silence. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so, yeah, it needs to be talked about. Yeah, it needs to be talked about. But yeah, like I really like. I'm just like all for it. Like all for it. Yeah, definitely.
And another amazing thing, right, for individuals like us, right, you know some people don't have that resource or that uh, uh being able to go to a mental health facility or
Yeah,
seek a therapist, right? So what you're doing, what I'm doing, kind of gives that other perspective on people that be like, oh, look, listen to that podcast, and look, look what he's doing as an advocate. And I think that it's very important to be the voice, right? To be the voice outside of these treatment facilities and be able to kind of, like, I would say, be in the streets when
yeah.
it comes to trying to be an advocate and educate people on the importance of mental health.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I say boots to the ground, all the time, because it's so necessary.
Yes.
Kind of like being out there with the people and meeting them
Mm-hmm.
where they are,
Mm-hmm.
where they are, or where they want to go, like I'm really big on that. Um Always boots to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always. Like even when we're not working, we're working.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
so it's like, Oh, okay. Well, we're here, and,
It's
you
hard to
know,
turn it off.
yeah, it's very, very hard to turn it off. Very much so. I don't know how it is in New Jersey, but I mean, I know here in Chicago, they're starting to open up more and more wellness, mental
Hmm.
health wellness centers, and you know, I'm just trying to, get in where I fit in, especially for our adolescents. They are. I'm talking about sweat. I be sweating. I'd be like, okay, so what's next?
Yeah,
Like it's a lot. They encounter and they endure a lot. And so being that beacon of light, and plus on top of that, someone that looks like them.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of like that has been the I guess I would say one of the most rewarding part of it is
Yeah.
being able to hear somebody say, well, you look like me, you connect with me, I could talk to you, right? You seem like you could help me or you want to help me.
Yeah.
Before we even get to the adolescents, it's like I feel like they suffer in silence. They feel like they don't have anyone. They feel like they might not have a voice to speak to somebody, or they're gonna be heard, right? So,
Yeah.
I know we're struggling with the adults with the stigma, but just imagine the adolescents that don't have that, you know, that person that could sit there and listen to them and say, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Let's try to get you the help that you need. Let's try to work through this.
Yeah.
Instead of people saying, well, you're young, you're still young, you're okay. What you stressing
Right.
about? You good.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I think as parents, we kind of like that's where we kind of go wrong, where we just want to shelter our kids and say, you're gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need that help or X, Y, and Z. And I think
Yeah.
it's so important to be open, right? Be open minded to knowing that sometimes as parents, we're gonna need extra support and extra help for
Yeah.
our kids.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I, extra it take a village. I say it take an army sometime because it's like so many forces, that's coming against you, the family, social
Yeah,
media. Like
yeah,
social media is something totally different. Like it is a like
yeah,
I
yeah,
it's like you need it. It's like damn if you do, damn if you don't type thing.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
always I'm always half and half of social media because it's like, yes, you could be positive on there, but there's always somewhere with some negativity or there's always something where try to distract you from the goal. So, me personally, I just try to go on there, post any events I have or anything that's positive and then just try to log off or try not to be on there too long. It definitely could consume you.
yeah.
And it definitely could have you, especially what we talk about, your mental health might not be where it needs to be because you're so consumed and focused on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So we just gotta, kind of like limit our time because
Yeah,
it does play a role because it's kind of like we're trying to meet up to the person that's on social media's expectations,
yeah, yeah,
and and it's rough, especially for teenagers, but adults too. You want the new Gucci bag, the Fendi bag, you want the new whatever, versus back in the day, it's all about word of mouth, like
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
shoes. You
mm-hmm,
really didn't have the phone. You got the black
mm-hmm,
phone. Boop, 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 you had
yeah,
that,
yeah,
right? And I kind of miss that. And it's kind of like you won't know anything until you see it on TV. And
yeah, yeah,
it's not as, it wasn't like, wow, we gotta do this and we gotta do this, we gotta have
yeah,
like that stuff, Louis Vuitton, it's been out since what, 1975,000 years ago. And like now it's being pumped up. Now it's being, revved up. Just a whole bunch of stuff has been revved up because everybody want to fit in that social norm, and even with the violence and, being in prison, like they glorify that,
yeah, yeah,
that's the if
mm-hmm,
you ain't doing that, oh, you
mm-hmm,
then you
yep,
it's like that's
yeah,
not who wants to
yeah,
spend like life in prison or who wants to spend 5 years in prison? Why are we creating this narrative for the next generation?
yeah,
And so I just think that it just kind of like curves. It puts people's mind in a different perspective. Like if we're not doing it, then we're not it.
yeah. And the thing with social media, it's so hard, right? To even if you break it down, right, and you say, you know what, this is not reality.
Yeah.
Like you said, the expectations makes it a person reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh no, I follow this person and they just bought a new car. I gotta figure out a way to buy a new car. So now you're going out your way to buy a new car because you want to be like that person, right? You don't
Yeah.
know how that person got that car.
Nope. Mm-mm. No. And they don't tell you okay, we did this. They all they know they got the car. They could have stole the car, or they could have sold some dope to get,
Yeah, yeah,
you just don't know, and
yeah,
just but I just can't. I can't. Now that I know better, I just can't. I can't
yeah,
live up.
uh,
I create my own narrative.
yeah. And I think it has to do a lot with right being real with yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I know that's hard. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say that's easy, but
Right.
some people struggle with that. But it's just being real with yourself and telling yourself like, that's not who I am. Why would I portray that person on social media and then know that in real life I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like most of the people on there might not be open to helping you or understanding you if you was the real you on social media.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
You
No,
know,
I
so
get
I try to tell people like it's very important to just, you know, if you're the real you at all times, when you're doing bad, when you're doing good, when you're sad, when you're happy, you don't got to go on there and fake it.
yeah. 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 No, you're right. You absolutely right about
Right?
it.
It's like you'll be doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You really do. You really, really do. And so kind of like all boils down to our topic, right? It kind of,
Yes.
a second chance, right? A second chance,
Yes.
life lessons. And so I know that you have a book
Yes.
entitled that, and I kind of like circles that around, kind of like circle that around. I surrounded that, around book. And so I know that like a second chance is like giving a whole new meaning of life and things like that. But just give a little disclaimer. Look, everybody, if you want to comment, like, give me some hearts, let me know that you're there with you're on the live with us. But yeah, just if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll definitely, we'll answer it at the best of our ability. But I know a second chance in life means, having another opportunity to achieve goals and dreams and
Yeah.
a chance to, right the wrongs and
Yeah.
the good stuff. So, like, what is your interpretation of a second chance? Because, you know, for me, a second chance is kind of like, like, all right, I got a fresh, clean
Mm-hmm.
canvas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the painter, and I can design in how I want it to be and how I
Yeah.
want it to look, and I'm gonna be committed to making it look how I envision it to be. And so, and I think through life lessons, it kind of like create like, okay, well, I can't go this straight line. Let me go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and back.
Mm-hmm.
That's my interpretation. So, well, I just give us a brief like overview of like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
talk about your book and kind of like give us a dive in of your illustration.
Of course. Of course. You know, so for me, you know, it's a very deep title. Um, it came at the perfect time. You know, God is good. I always got to give glory to God, right?
Got to. Oh,
He played the major part and is still playing the major part
see
in
it.
my second chance. But you know, to take you back a little bit, you know, I grew up in an environment where you know, it wasn't the best of the environment. You know, trying to make ends meet. You know, grew up in the projects. You know, seeing everything. You know, from people selling drugs to doing drugs to robbing people and all that stuff, right? So it came to a point, right, where I was just kind of trying my best not to fall in that cycle, right, of self destruct,
Yeah.
right, because it kind of puts you in a position where you're not going nowhere positive. Um, and
Definitely.
then you know, and then something I also always like to remind myself is the pride and ego.
Mm,
Pride and ego plays a big role in my downfall before I was able to get a second chance, right? So just to kind of walk you a little bit through my story, um, you know, I was trying to make ends meet. You know, was trying to provide for my family, was trying to do things my way. Didn't want to ask for help. Um, you know, my pride and ego got the best of me. Didn't want to look like I was weak. Didn't want to look like you know, I was doing bad in any type of way, right? So I
mhm.
went and started selling drugs to make ends meet. You know, got arrested. You know, did about 4 months in jail. came out through a program. But to take you back a little bit, while I was in there, God was just showing me things left and right.
Yeah.
First He was protecting me, which that's key, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You hear so much stories, and you're like, you're in jail, and it's like there's nothing positive out of that. But for
Right.
me, um, it was what started everything for me. Being able to meet people in there and talk to people and kind of have that mentality that once I come out of here, I want
Yeah.
to do everything different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? If I'm able to come out these doors, I want to change my life around and I want to do things right.
Yeah.
Um, so that became my second chance.
Yeah.
Once I was able to come out, I did a program called ISP, Intensive Supervision Program. I
Okay.
did that program for 18 months. I kind of was like one of the best participant in that program, did everything right, graduated that program, and then just started really looking into my life and saying, what do I have to do different?
Yeah.
Right? What do I have to start doing now to not go backwards, but to move forward? How can I use my story and my testimony to I guess, educate the youth and change the community?
Yeah.
So when I say a second chance, I will forever be grateful to God, my family, my support system, my mentors, and just people that believed in me. That even though I did what I did, I was able to turn it around and make something out of it.
Yeah. 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 So what was I guess your perspective when you first got incarcerated? Like what was you was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh Lord,
Well,
somebody please come get me.
yeah.
Like, what was your mindset like when you first got in there, and then when your last day leaving?
Yeah.
What was that perspective? Because
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. It was a big, big, big difference. When I first got in there, it was like, the enemy tried to come in my mind and give me negative thoughts. Like, oh, how you gonna survive in here? What you gonna do? Everything's negative in here.
yeah,
Um, things are not gonna go good. You're gonna probably catch another charge in here. So everything was negative at first.
hmm,
As the days went on, I kind of, just rely on family, and just try my best to kind of see how I could turn this into a positive.
yeah,
Um, so comparing my first day to my last day, it was a big. It was a different me.
yeah,
If I could be transparent and honest with you, it was the person that went in and the person that come out was two different people. And the reason why I say that is because, as I was going through that process and learning so much, right? Because I have heard from people, this is what happens in there, X, Y, and Z, but me seeing it myself
yeah,
and being able to come out on the other side and say, how can I help people not go there? How can I help people not hype up being in jail or making or thinking it's cool to be in jail, right?
right,
What can I do through my experience, through my story, to really, one, show myself that I learned my lesson and show the people around me that I learned my lesson. But third, how
yeah,
can I pay it forward? And
yeah,
I came out with that mentality, like I have to pay it forward. I have to do something. I have to create something. Um, I have to be able to tell my story without feeling, without feeling ashamed,
yeah,
without feeling what people are gonna think. So I was able to just kind of like be that testimony, right, and be that face of like, you don't want to go that route because
right,
this is what happens when you go that route.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Like, I mean, that's an experience, within itself. I mean, I can imagine,
Yeah, yeah,
and for people that have or still let me say this, some people still hold that guilt, right?
yeah. Oh
And
yeah,
that shame over them because they've been incarcerated,
yeah.
because they feel like they're still not adequate or good enough,
Mhm, mhm.
and sometimes when people they get incarcerated, more, for years and years and years, and they come back to the real world and
It's
they don't even
different.
know what to do,
Yeah,
or
it's different. Mhm,
yeah, it's
mhm.
way totally different, and they still have that mindset, you know.
Yeah,
And so how do you help people, free up their mind when it comes down to that? Because that's kind of like that's more so like bondage,
yeah,
because
yeah,
of your circumstances that you got yourself into, right? And then
yeah.
you're still feeling like you're stuck. Um,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
so what would you tell people, to kind of like change their perspective on life and giving themselves, first of all, you got to give yourself permission and
Yeah,
forgive yourself to
yeah,
be able to have a second, give yourself
yeah,
a second
yeah.
chance. So what would what would you say to them, or what would you encourage them? I don't, as far as, practicing, as far as like with therapy and being an advocate, what are some of your ways, and of telling people, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, the first thing, right, is being honest with yourself,
Yeah,
right? And then the second follow up will be being patient with yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think what, and I could talk from my experience. I think for me, the first that came out, I wanted to do everything, right? I wanted to do everything fast. Like I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted to create this. And I knew that I had to be patient, right? I had to really sit there and be like, okay, how I'm gonna do this? How is this gonna work? What my network look like?
yeah,
Being able to have the right resources, right, and the right people around you,
yeah,
because just because you coming out with a different mindset doesn't mean that there's not going to be people that's still doing the same thing you was doing, trying to influence you to go back
yeah,
to whatever they were doing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So being able to separate myself from those that might not have been aligned with me this time around, right? Being real with myself and saying, okay, my mindset was fast money, fast this. I have to be patient that things are not going to come that way. I have to, work harder. I have to do, things differently. So my biggest advice would be, is be honest with yourself, be patient with yourself, and just trust the process.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because you know what? One thing you can't do, you can't fool yourself.
You gotta look in that mirror.
And sometimes you don't, like I always say, so it was like during COVID exposed a lot. I keep saying this over and over
Yeah,
and over again, but
yeah,
COVID exposed a lot about ourselves,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like, ooh, I don't like that.
yeah,
I'm struggling with that. But some
yeah,
people, they be lying and say, like, no,
yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't
Mm-hmm.
struggle. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a bald faced lie, and you're just like, come on now, like, stop it,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, I totally agree with you on that, being honest and being real with yourself. It can't be smoke and mirrors, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can't be that.
Yeah.
And a lot
I
of
mean,
people
I think in regards to our topic, right, mental health, I think it just kind of gives you a little bit more leeway to working on your mental health when you're real with yourself,
yeah,
right? When you say to yourself, I'm struggling, right? Let's go back to the incarceration situation, right? That's trauma,
yeah,
right? So now I have to somehow, some way work through that trauma.
yeah,
And in order for me to work through that trauma, I got to be real with myself that I went through that trauma.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm able to get the help that I need. A lot of times we kind of, stay in denial because we don't want people to know our business.
yeah,
We're not going to open up to just anyone.
right,
We still want to portray that strong individual that doesn't need anyone to help them. So you know what? I'm gonna still push through this and put my mental health to the side because right now I don't gotta worry about that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then it becomes more severe as time goes by.
And you can see it. You can see it, taste it, feel it. You can feel all of that, because we sometimes we deny and we neglect ourselves because
Yeah,
we want to
yeah,
create this image,
yeah,
and it's not what that is, so
yeah,
yeah. And you know what? And the turnaround, the second part about that is, life lessons.
yeah.
Like, I could say a lot about that, but
Yeah,
like,
that
life lessons, life be life in. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I say that all
yeah,
the time, even with my clients, like I said, don't let people make you seem like you paint this picture like everything's sweet.
yeah,
And it's not. Life
yeah,
is it's all
yeah,
about how we make it. But at the same
yeah.
time, while we're trying to make it,
Mm-hmm.
it give you like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh,
Oh,
oh,
it knocks you out a lot of times before you get back up.
come on, somebody. Like, you, it really does. And
Yeah,
I give my clients the scenario. I'm like, life is like waves, right?
yeah,
You got
yeah,
surfboard. What color is your
yeah,
surfboard? Mine
yeah,
purple, because I love purple.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and ride this wave.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, I said, we're on this way together. We're on this journey together.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
race, a
Mm-hmm.
marathon. And so we all are learning. It's no handbook to
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
and the lessons, right? Your lessons may not be my lessons,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that knowing that it could be similarities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we we get caught up like, oh no, because we don't speak about it. We don't talk
Yeah.
about it. We don't
Yeah.
talk about testimony.
Yeah.
Somebody next to you could be going through the same thing, and you could be their way out. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes because we're quiet and we don't want to tell the story, and our people that are around us that they suffer too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
it's in silence.
Mm-hmm.
We don't open
Mm-hmm.
up our mouth,
Mm-hmm.
open up our mouths to say anything because
Yeah.
we don't want people to know our business. We don't want
Yeah.
people to know that we have insecurities. We don't want people to know we have an addiction.
Yeah.
And we ain't talking about drugs or alcohol, maybe
Mm-hmm.
porn,
Mm-hmm.
and or maybe gambling.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things, and
Yeah.
people they
Yeah.
don't want to chat about because I don't want to be labeled.
Yeah. And the
You
whole time they could be freeing somebody or helping somebody get through what they going through.
Now I spill my tea, but I'll be some stuff I keep to myself. I be like, hold on, give me the Lord and my therapist, and I ain't gonna be able to tell nobody. Some stuff you can't tell, but then some stuff like if a person is struggling with, and you see it, if you don't speak up, I speak up. Like I didn't know, my words have power. You know what I'm saying? Like not like what I'm saying. Now coming into my own as an adult, but to actually interact and be the therapist and they're confiding in me as far as skill set, and I'm just like, so how is I asked one question and everything just kind of like spoils over, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that, not on the first session, or I didn't expect that, during a conversation. It's just being comfortable enough to have that conversation, and it's uncomfortable. Being comfortable to be uncomfortable enough to have those.
I'm gonna share a quick story with you. I always share with people, right? So as an intern, I get clients.
Yeah.
So I had this older client, right? African American client.
Yeah.
And at first he was hesitant. He looked at me as younger than him, and he's like, it might not work. You're younger, So then as we working together, I remember it was almost coming to the end of his sessions with me. We did amazing work together. He met all his goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But towards the end, our last session, I go to him, and I think this was just God flowing in that session. I'm like, man, I love you. He like looked at me shocked. He's like, what? I said, yeah, I love you, man. You did good. I wish you nothing but the best. He's like, listen, let me tell you something. Nobody ever told me they love me. He's like, come here, give me a hug. Right? So just something like I'm just piggybacking what you're saying.
Yeah.
How powerful words are, right?
Yeah.
How you don't know how much your words are gonna mean to somebody else.
Yeah.
I would never thought that this man older than me never heard the word I love you.
Yeah. 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 Listen, being in this field, you see so much, you hear so much. It's like nothing's like I'm not shocked anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even feel that anymore. Yeah. It's just like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like, okay, let's work through this. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just so many things. Like even with the hug, right? A lot of people they don't show affection because they don't have that in childhood.
Yeah. They don't know what that is.
They don't know what that feels like. And so I'm just like, wow. Wow. And also, it kind of like, and we talk about life lessons. Sometimes the lessons, in a lot of, let me say this, because some people, they don't hug or they don't, these lessons, or their experiences create lessons or create things, that not saying they shouldn't be, but sometimes that's how the wave hits.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't know how to react, or they don't even function. A lot of people, they don't hug, or this young lady, she doesn't show any type of affections because of her past traumas.
Yes.
Being sexually abused. They don't touch me, no man touch me, or vice versa, or a guy I don't want any woman, or a man I don't want no affection. No, stay back. And I think because of those experiences, because of those things that happen, it kind of like allows that person to be in a space where it's like, they kind of exile themselves, they isolate
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, those experiences, it makes a break
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
you get the proper, get into your, as far as the proper healing channel,
Yeah.
as far as with
Yeah.
therapy and
Yeah.
healing through those things and saying,
Yeah.
and actually being validated on what you feel. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing too, because people want to be validated. Their feelings want to
Yeah.
be validated.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Period.
know, and I think that that's why it makes it so harder, right, for the people in the outside world,
Yeah.
because you're not going to get validation from the outside world. You're
Yeah.
not going to get people to understand why you're going through what you're going through, and why you might not want to be hugged, or why you might not want to show a certain emotion around people.
Yeah.
They're going to question it before they even support it.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
so with the isolation, the shutting down, you see a lot of people that they just like, what, I'd rather isolate. I'd rather be my own little bubble, my own little world, because outside of this, nobody understands me.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So for anyone listening, or whoever gonna listen after we share it, right?
Yeah.
Just you have to be in tune with yourself, right? In regards to wanting better, right?
Yeah.
And getting the right help that you might need.
Yeah.
Whatever your preference is, but isolating yourself and thinking that there's nobody out there that's willing to help you, hear you, or see you might kind of bring more mental health issues than it would help your mental health.
Right. Right. Definitely. 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 It's something. It's a journey, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
just everyday life, just being black, that's a whole different,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
being black and being in this country, and the things that we have to endure, and sometimes our parents' life lessons sometimes hits us,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so what did you
Yeah.
do? And
Yeah.
sometimes, the parents, they don't know what to do. They just going along.
Yeah. They keep pushing.
They keep pushing, and
Mm-hmm.
fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that a lot, but I was like, nah, I don't want to
Yeah.
fake it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, um, somebody has to stop that cycle.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
that, okay,
Yeah.
that's not what I want to
Yeah.
do. That's not how
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Mm-hmm.
conduct myself. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I just think that it's just a whole metamorphosis and how it all evolves,
Yeah.
giving yourself a second chance. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
fall down, guess what? You can pick yourself back
Yeah.
up
Get back up. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and dust yourself off.
Mm-hmm.
Long as we have breath in our body, we can definitely
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, they don't like to start all over again, but
It's uncomfortable. It's
it's
uncomfortable.
it's so uncomfortable, and a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They want to be comfortable and stay in
Mm-hmm.
the state that they're in because
Yeah.
it feels good, and I know what that is.
Yeah.
Versus being uncomfortable and
And working towards a better
exact,
you.
yep,
Yeah.
exploring the possibilities.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're limitless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of like stopping your own growth of yourself and the people that are around you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's hard to grow without being uncomfortable,
yeah, yeah,
right? You stay stagnant because you know where you at, right? And you're doing what you know how to do with your eyes closed, and
yeah,
you don't want change. You don't want nothing different. So it's
yeah,
hard to grow when you want to stay the same.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but just to piggyback real quick, what you were saying earlier, even in the Hispanic community, right? It's so hard to break that stigma because even as a young child, you hear from your parents, you don't go tell nobody your business.
you're right.
You don't go talk to other people. You
Yeah,
don't tell nobody what's going on in this house.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that right there kind of, stops the wanting to get the help, wanting to heal, wanting to be heard, wanting to talk to somebody about your trauma, your depression, your anxiety, or whatever you're going through. Because your parents, your grandparents, your uncles are already telling you that's not acceptable in this culture.
yeah, 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 yeah. Really, it is like that. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, but now, then you get as an adult, and you got all of these things keep popping up.
Yeah.
It keep like the skeletons
Yeah.
skeletons keep coming out the closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bones,
Mm-hmm.
everything
Mm-hmm.
keep coming up. And it's kind of like, okay, how am I? And you're not having healthy relationships. You're not even having a healthy relationship with yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and neglecting yourself, neglecting other people because we're not taught. You're not taught to take care of the mental, because the mental and the physical, they
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah.
Always work together.
Yeah.
And so, tie it all into your book, right? So it's kind of like giving your story of
Mm-hmm.
you and your life, and
Yeah.
as far as turning, your trauma into praise, into
Yeah.
gratitude, into, newness, and as far as like evolving into who you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think as I was writing the book, right, and as I was going through the process of the book, in my mind, right, one of my main goals was, if I'm reading this book, how can this book help that person,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to make it all about me, right? I don't want to be where you hear my story and then you go to the end, you're like, oh, okay, good for him. No, how can it change you?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
can you read that and take your story and make it something different?
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I mean, your story is your story, but
Yeah,
everybody has a story too. And
yeah,
so it's kind of like it compels them to like, okay, yeah,
yeah,
you can do it. Surely I can do
yeah.
it. And that's what anybody, telling their story,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we're overcome by our testimony. And so
Yeah.
with that, I'm churchy too. So I'm the good Lord, right? And so
Good all
no,
the
I
time.
believe that. Like I definitely believe it. And I believe in, giving yourself a second chance and extending grace to yourself.
Yeah,
Being
yeah,
being kind to yourself, not nice, but being kind to yourself.
yeah,
And I think doing that makes the difference. Forgiving yourself, telling yourself it's okay. I'm all right.
yeah, yeah,
Even when you feel like, okay, I don't even know what steps, and even, what, and even apologizing to people, to those that hurt you.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
getting, what I'm saying, like, okay, hey, I
yeah,
get it, you know, if I hurt you in any way, I apologize.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's the best thing, and it frees you up too. And
Well,
that's
that's what I was gonna say. It's freeing yourself,
yeah, yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
freeing yourself so you could move on to the next chapter of your life.
yeah, yep, absolutely, yeah.
You know?
I be reaching out to people, learning from your mistakes,
Yeah,
making a plan.
yeah.
What I'm saying? We have to write the vision. Like, what is it
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
want your life to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have life lessons. Everybody has life lessons.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like it, what I'm saying? I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the lessons, what I'm saying? I'm like, and especially if you keep going through that same lesson, you're like, okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? Because I ain't get
Yep. Why are you trying to teach me?
like, because I ain't gonna be able to make it. No, I'm just saying, no. Like, you definitely can make it. I promise. Anybody that's out there can make it, right? At the same time,
We're here to be
who is
class.
that?
Yeah,
We can't make it because it's like, come on, why I gotta keep
yeah,
going through the same thing?
yeah, yeah,
And then and I have the same thing. If I keep going through or meeting the same individuals, right? What is it about me that's keep attracting that?
yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
make changes within myself.
yeah, yeah. Yep. That's that self reflection, right?
Yeah,
That's that looking at what you doing, that right, that you're not doing right.
yeah, yeah. And I think I was like, okay, let me remove whatever that's in me. Let me just
Yeah,
take it out, guy, because
yeah,
trash, throw it to trash, because
yeah.
throw it to the pigs or something. Because
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
keep going through these motions, right? And so kind of like, and once we do that, we discover our true purpose in
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah,
And I think reintroducing yourself to yourself is a good way to turning your lessons into, triumph, and to
yeah.
give yourself a second chance. And also make a list of gratitude. Like, what do you I put it on my little notes. I got little notes right here. Making a list of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
you're grateful for. And I think that's giving you a great way of, you know, seeing what's in front of you.
Yeah.
The beauty that's in front of you. You know, like we go, oh, I see this. You sometimes you always see the bad that's around you instead of seeing the good.
Yeah.
You can see flowers right in front of your face, and you're like, man,
Yeah.
you see the dirt, and you see everything around it, but that, you know, I think just really homing in on gratitude, being grateful, and also being patient, like you said before, being patient with ourselves.
Very, very important.
Man, way important, because you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're still growing. I feel like I'm still growing up at 37. I'm still growing up. You know what I'm
big
saying?
time.
You know, even at 6, my parents, I feel like they still growing up, because it's certain stuff that they don't know. Or you know,
I agree.
Yeah, everybody's learning. Everybody gonna get this work. And so, like, and also, and lastly, I would say believing in yourself.
Yeah. I wrote a children's book. I have 2 boys, Jacob and Armani.
Okay.
Armani's 15, Jacob is 6, and I wrote a book. It's titled "Believe in Your Dreams."
Okay.
And it's dedicated to them.
Oh, that's
you know, so
ourselves. When
we have to
believes in us, we gotta believe in ourselves.
Yeah. No matter what you're going through, I'm not saying that, you know, for the people listening, I'm not saying that that what you're going through is not important or it's not hard. What I'm saying is that, you know, whatever you're going through, you got to keep pushing and you got to keep working the best way you can, right, to work through that. Because the opposite of that is not working through it, and then things get worse.
Yeah.
Right. So they say, right, slow process is better than no process. And everybody's different, right? You know, I could be going through something. It might take me, you know, months, and somebody else could be going through it might take them weeks. We all are different in our own ways. We are all unique in our own ways. We all heal different. We all, you know, deal with things differently. But I do believe that all of us here or listening or that will listen, that might be going through something that, you know, that you could keep pushing through what you're going through. You know, in other words, don't give up.
Yeah, definitely. Because those lessons gonna come.
Yeah.
Those lessons gonna come. You know, those trials gonna come. Everything's pretty much gonna come. And so, can you endure? And then during your enduring this, also seek out help.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone.
You know, you don't. You know, and you don't have to do that. And you know, we gotta stop the stigma, like, oh, I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
At this.
Yeah.
And
I'm strong. I'm strong.
Yeah. No, I don't. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to. You know, who created this? Who said that? Please stop. Because you don't have to be. I don't want to be strong all the time.
Nope.
You know, I don't want to. I don't, you know, and I think, like you said, being honest with yourself, you know, a lot of people, they don't want to be strong, but they don't know nothing else but.
They don't know.
Right. And so having, you know, therapy and, you know, surrounding yourself with people that are willing to be vulnerable and that anything, I think, plays a major part in our development, you know, of ourselves, right? And I think that knowing that, I think, you know, because I'm like really growing. I was just like, right?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Everybody's growing, right? And I just think when you become vulnerable with yourself, then that's when, you know, everything else takes over and your eyes open, you know, like the third eye. Like you really, you know, you ask really, like you get exposed.
Mindset is different.
Right. The mindset and your perspective is totally different. And you and in this moment, you know, in providing services to our people, right? Them our people. And I just have more compassion. And I'm like, okay. Versus somebody else, like, I'm not gonna tackle me. And me, you know what I'm saying? And people in our field, in our arena, we extend grace.
Yeah, we have to.
Man,
you have to.
Grace. I just
you have to.
more and more. I'm just like, Okay. Well, like how was childhood?
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk
yeah,
about it.
let's talk about it,
Mhm,
right? And sometimes it
mhm.
shows up in conversations without you even asking.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, my mama and them used to. I'm like,
yeah.
ooh, okay,
A
okay.
hundred, a hundred
I see
percent,
why.
hundred
I
percent.
see why. Yeah, definitely. So, any last words, as far as to encourage someone that want to do another second chance on life and want to do better and things like that? What would you say to them? What's some encouraging words for them?
I would say, just being able to, like you said, reintroduce yourself to yourself, right?
Yeah,
Being able to, right, go back to what makes you happy, or what made you happy, or what made you, right? I know that sometimes as adults, right, we kind of start forgetting the things that we love to do. We
yeah,
start, we parenting, we doing X, Y, and Z. So just being able to go back to you, but to what makes you happy, push forward every day to become a better you.
yeah, yeah. So, thank you so much for coming on the live.
Thank you for having me. It was a
Listen,
pleasure.
helping people. No problem. Listen, we cousins now. We can't
Yes, yes,
listen. Tell my other cousin, tell your wife, hey, look,
yes, yes.
you got a new addition to the
I
family.
got you.
All
I
that good
got you.
stuff. So, how can people find you? How can they reach?
Yes. So Instagram is Edison JAQUEZ Speaks. Facebook is Edison JAQUEZ, and Twitter is Edison334. Amazon has all my books.
Okay.
You put my name and it's on Amazon. Just however you can, just reach out to me. I love to networking with people, meeting new people, and just being a light, right?
Yeah.
In this dark world that sometimes we experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jersey in the house. Oh, no, but no,
No,
but
I
no,
appreciate it.
everybody tune in. I won't be on the live next week because I got to do some vending and stuff. I'm gonna be at the church vending. Without me, they was like, "Hey, I need you to come to the church." I was like, "Okay, all right."
Can't say no to that.
Listen, no, I'm not gonna say no. I gotta wherever God tells me to go, I gotta go. So yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys August 6th. The next time, our next powwow with each other and spilling the tea. So you guys have a great and productive Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share.
Yes.
And
Thank you, guys.
guys until next time.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.